we all know that we are in VUCA generation and situation. And one of the things about this volatile change and uncertainty and complexity and ambiguity is that we need to embrace the fact that things are going to be moving fast and faster. And it's not so much evolution or revolution. It's more evolution than revolution. It's that not that leaders haven't known how to be leading now, currently, and are going to change dramatically for the future. They have to start using the skills that they know of right now. The future is now. And, once we have experienced COVID for the last 2 years, we have now seen clearly that what we call the soft skills are so important today, much more important than hard skills. Now, I turn it around. I believe that the soft skills are the hard skills, and more difficult to do than what we call hard skills, the technical skills. And so, emotional intelligence is going to come into play. Empathy, communication skills are going to be upmost in our skill set. So we need to start reviewing what do I need to do to become more emotionally intelligent? What do I need to do to become more socially intelligent? In the course that I'll be doing, we're going to be looking at two things that are important, I believe. After we look at philosophy, we're looking at science. What's the scientific research say? And then thirdly, what are the tools or techniques that we use to make this philosophy work, to make this scientific research work? So, for instance, the research says if you pay attention to your culture, and what that means is we're paying attention to how management treats employees, how employees handle management, and how both of them handle external world, the customer, the vendor, the partners. How are we doing that? And if we focus on that, we can improve our stock price, and this is a good measurement for profit making organizations. We can improve our stock price by 901%, says an 11-year piece of research by Heskett and Cotter. If you don't pay attention to that, over those same 11 years, you can improve your stock price by 74%. So right away, we know into the future, we need to start paying attention to how are we treating our customers? How are we treating our employees? It's just a fair clear idea that how we treat our employees is how our employees treat the customer, and how we treat the customer is how the stakeholders and stockholders are going to do if we're a profit-making organization. These 2 years of COVID have really placed us in a new format of how we get our work done. If you look on LinkedIn, you're going to see remote. This job remote, which means hybrid. Some days we're going to be in, probably less, and more days we're going to be working from wherever we are. And so when we talk about communication, probably the most important thing when we're together is listening, the listening skill. And, we've heard this for so many years. And in my leadership course, I have 40 technologies, 40 ways of having a tool to accomplish what the law told us. So, for instance, if I say that if you are a leader, the most important thing that you need to have is a follower. Very, very simple. The fact is, I then will say, here are a couple of tools. You need to have upward feedback. And upward feedback is employees giving feedback anonymously at first to their supervisor. And I say the tool is appreciate and improve. Now, this doesn't take a master's degree to implement this tool. But the next class, if I'm doing a series, I ask how many people implemented the tool? 1, 2 out of 20. So people go away from a training, and my business partner here, Petro Pacararu, also said something intelligent, very intelligent. He's a smart guy. He said, if people aren't coached on certain tools that we have in training, they just don't do them. So coaching is so important when we can during this hybrid kind of situation where we're giving people a tool, and I must tell people, okay, in the next class, I want you to bring me the feedback you got from your employees, and we'll look at it, and we'll talk about appreciate. What are they appreciating about you? What do you need to improve? Because they're telling you how they need you to be in that present, which is right now our future. And unless they use that tool, the law doesn't make any sense that leaders need followers. Well, how do I know when people are following me? Well, I have to ask them. And usually in the beginning, nobody is going to tell your supervisor what they really think. So you need to have a way of getting this information that is anonymous. They don't have to put their name on it. Once they trust you with this kind of information and this kind of transparency, they'll put their name on it automatically without you asking. But here's a simple tool, appreciate, improve, and tool. I've been teaching it for 30 years. If I'm not following up with those managers and supervisors who are supposed to be following the guidance that we're giving them, then they're not doing it. Now, what happens from that? 78% of the people polled say their managers are not good managers, meaning the people with the title are not really being the kind of people that we want to work for and work with. And this comes from millennials. 78%, another 78% said, I don't have a good manager. And we look at some of Gallup's research, and it's real clear. People don't leave organizations, they leave managers and supervisors. So one of the keys in a hybrid environment is when we do meet, we have to have communication tools. So the appreciate and improve tool is a communication tool. We have a tool called READS, READS. It's a tool. Over 50% of our problems in communication come because of our relationship problems. How are we relating to each other? E is expectations. Are we clarifying expectations? A is if we're not clarifying expectations, we make assumptions. And over 50% are invalid when we assume things. So I call them assumicide. We commit assumicide. We challenge each other's assumptions. What are we assuming right now that's keeping us away from succeeding? D is destination. Where are we headed? What's the objective? What's it look like when we arrive? S is feedback, and feedback, the easiest way to get feedback is appreciate and improve both ways. The manager or the supervisor or the team lead gives the appreciate and improve feedback to every individually, and then has the team give her feedback as a supervisor or manager. And this is communication. We also have a tool that we've refined from Gallup, the Q12 process. They've interviewed millions of employees in 73 countries. And in that research, employees say the same thing. Here are the 12 things that we need to be successful. So what a supervisor should do, take those 12 things, create a handout for his people or put it online and have them answer. How many of these things am I doing well and where am I not doing well with these 12 issues? And it's shown that those teams that follow those 12 items have a higher profit, has little less turnover. They're more productive, and they're what is called engaged employees. It's a tool. If you don't use the tool, then the law, which says that leaders must have followers or a follower, at least one, then we don't know if somebody's following or not. So hybrid times need more communication, and communication doesn't just mean listening, which I started with, but it's so important. Listening means in this new environment, we have to have a new mindset. The new mindset is not telling people answers, but asking them questions so they can self-discover. And this is what millennials really want. I want self-discovery. I want to be taught through the dialectic, which is by Aristotle. Ask me a question to pull the information out of me so I become a good thinker. And stop interrupting. Don't interrupt. We all do it because our minds are moving faster than you can speak. You speak about 200 words a minute, and I can think 12 to 1,500 words a minute. So we have a problem. So control the interruption and let people start to begin to think for themselves clearly in this hybrid environment. We call it in English infanticide. It means I treat you like an infant, meaning I think better than you think. Or I'm a good supervisor, I'm a good leader, and I help you to think clearly. So leaders maintain and even increase productivity. Normally, organizations try to give 360-degree kinds of feedback. As someone who's done this for 40 years, the system is weak. It's weak because of a number of things. People choose the people who are going to give them feedback at times. So I know who I'm going to choose the people I get along with, the people I work well with together, and not the people who could give me some really tough feedback. Well, in the future, and during our session, we're going to look at a company which I call the company of the future. And other companies are following suit. It's called Bridgewater. It's a hedge fund company that makes more money for their clients than the next 4 companies put together beneath them. They're number 1 in the world, Bridgewater. And many people have read Ray Dalio's book, Principles, and he's come out with another excellent book. But what he demonstrates is how algorithms and artificial intelligence are going to work together with human intelligence to come up with better decisions. And in his case, in how to trade in the markets, but also how to evaluate individuals and their contributions to the corporation, to the organization. How to evaluate where should we be listening to this person? So when they're trying to make a decision, AI is also watching in the background and accumulating all the answers that this employee ever gave and where they're being successful in their answers and where they're not. In what items, what subject, and think of our brain, we can't do this, but AI can, an algorithm can do it and tell us, is this person believable? in this situation? How should we believe them? And who is believable in this meeting and who is not? And when we come up with the answer, AI is unemotionally helping us out. So we're going to increase productivity as we move into the future. And it's starting now. And you'll see Ray Dalio in a TED talk talking about how he's combined these two in his company and how successful he's been personally and how successful the company has been, the organization has been. The other thing about productivity is transparency. They give each other feedback in real time all the time. They videotape every meeting, and if it can't be videotaped at that place or time, they audio tape it. If your name is mentioned, you get a copy of it. People cannot talk behind other people's back. They can only talk to the person. If they are caught 3 times talking behind somebody's back instead of to the person about a situation or a conflict or an issue, they're fired. And so this feedback is happening all the time. If I'm giving a presentation right now, somebody's clicking in their feedback about what they think, and I can watch it. I can see it in real time. And what he says is 30% of his hirees don't make it. They can't handle transparency. And what is behind transparency is authenticity. So during these times, transparency and authenticity are absolute necessities. So I have an exercise for our session designed to really feel what authenticity means. And behind that is telling the truth, being honest as we know it, the truth as we know it. And so there's another tool. The tool of authenticity, the tool of truth telling, the tool of transparency, meaning we're giving and receiving feedback all the time. Right now, people in management positions do not get honest feedback. No, in very few organizations over the 40 years I've worked, where employees will say, we have a boss, we have a supervisor, we have a team lead that accepts feedback all the time clearly, and tough feedback that is improved feedback that they don't want to hear. What's the elephant in the room? Feedback, I've had this in my own organizations. If I'm running an organization, people are afraid to tell me because they work here and I have the power to let them go from here or give them a hard time or give them things to do that other people don't want to do. And you can do it. So getting down to being who you are is going to be important for the future workplace and the future leader in it. And just a hint, there are many different percentages, but by 2030, 80% of the workplace will be millennial. That means born after 1980 and around before 2000. The other 20% are going to be the Z generation. And so we need to create a culture that is millennial friendly. And we're going to talk about that in our session. What's a millennial friendly culture? And we'll talk about the difference between Microsoft before and Microsoft after they got a new CEO and what happened and how he made it millennial friendly and what happened to their stock price and their profit after that occurred. Some of the biggest challenges facing people who manage other people are understanding how much influence they have on other people and how they're driving the whole organization. So if you're a team lead, you're driving the life of a person who's spending 60 to 70% of their life working on the job. or you're a CEO of 180,000 employees, doesn't matter. You're guiding the whole organization by your actions. Millennials and me as a boomer, we want organizations that are honest, that are ethical, that are socially intelligent, that are community conscious, that are really conscious business people. Meaning we don't cheat, we don't lie to our shareholders, we don't lie to our customers. We've had these kinds of things happen in the United States and around the world. We all watch Volkswagen tell us about these converters, right? And that they lied about and how much good they were doing, and they were actually doing poorly, and it's hurt their business, still hurting their business. Millennials are not going to work in an organization, they will leave. If they have an ethical boss, if they have an ethical organization sticking to meaning and purpose and honesty with them, with their customers, then the research says a millennial will stay for 5 years, and that's a long time in a millennial life, because a lot move out 1 year after they've joined. And why are they moving out? Why are they leaving an organization? They leave the supervisor. So the supervisor has to become very cognizant of how they're doing now, this month. And if they're, on a project that's 3 weeks, this week, 3 months, 2 weeks, how am I doing? How can I change to meet your needs? Because the new way of doing things is the old way of doing things. In the future, we want servant leaders. We want people who are serving us so we can serve the client, the customer, better. We're not here for management satisfaction. We're here for customer satisfaction. We're here for employee satisfaction. And the people who are facilitating are the team leads, the managers, the supervisors, the CEOs. They're all facilitators. They're all generating ways of improving and pulling out of our employees the intelligence, creativity, and knowledge that serve each other well and then serve the customer well. It's not about ego. It's about humility. We're going to talk about a tool or technique to improve on our value system. How do we do that? Well, just a hint, values are not gifts. They're a practice. So if I want to be a humble leader, then I have to practice that. If I want to be a patient person, which I'm working on now, I don't have a lot of patience. It's a practice. You have to practice the skill. It's a skill, not a gift. And so is leadership. And one of the things that leaders don't do is define these things properly. Leading means I really have loyal followers. Leadership means another word to replace that, partnership. Leadership is partnership. And if we can't create alliances and partnerships moving into the future, we're not going to make it, because it's multicultural. We're moving into a multicultural world where my friend Adrian Ionescu, who works for Dell, now stationed in Switzerland, has on his team Americans, Swiss, Indians, East India, Romanians, Pakistanis, Bangladeshis, all on one team. So we need ways and tools to actually learn about other cultures and be prepared. If I have an Indian on my team, I need to I need to find out the 8 dimensions of culture and what I need to know about the Indian culture so I can relate to this person well, especially if I'm on or in a management situation. I've got the responsibility for this team. I need to know this. I need to know about each of these cultures, how to handle it, how to deal with it. It's a skill. So we need to know where to look, which we're going to talk about in our at our conference, and we're going to talk about how to use those dimensions for higher productivity and creativity and through communication, because different cultures need different kinds of communication. Management position, this type of conversation that we're going to have is required conversation for you, either in this one or one like it, or a session like it. When we're talking about together, what is the leadership of the future? What does it mean? So managers for sure. However, every team member has to manage not only themselves but every other team member and their boss. So everybody needs the skill. So one of the big changes in the VUCA environment is called shared leadership. Shared leadership means everybody is responsible to lead when appropriate, not just the manager. They get too much blame and too much credit. We need to spread that power over the whole organization. So team members should also be attending. So it's good for team building, but it's also good for team leading when we're having these conversations with a group together. 3 things again we're going to look at: philosophy, or the laws or definitions of leading and leadership and management versus leadership. Then the science behind some of the findings. And then what tools or techniques do we need to use to implement or close the gap between knowing something and doing something? And as I mentioned, Petru Pacararu from HVDI, the founder, said we need coaching after that, which is very true, to get the tools implemented, to be guided on how to use the tools. We may talk about 20 tools in the day's work. And so we'll do our best to tell you how to use the tool, but you may need coaching following that up. And so I'll see you all in the United States following following our session. And but no, we would love to help you implement. We'll do everything we can during the session to make you tool ready or technique ready to solve the problems of tomorrow.